Sometimes I feel like I'm being lied to. Something just doesn't feel right. Travel is supposed to be the magic cure, isn't it? And though I've made some incredible memories this year and been to some truly special places, I don't think it's quite the dream it's made out to be. This video is a reflection of my travels in the past year, which has been filled with incredible adventures and memories which will last a lifetime. But what doesn't sit right with me is that usually you only get to see one side of the story. And as someone who preaches the importance of self-expression and authenticity, even when it means embracing uglier and often denied aspects of ourselves or our lived experience, I felt compelled to share this honest story with you. It didn't take me long to get on my first getaway of the year, a spontaneous adventure I really needed not long after a breakup where I'd be flying to Krakow, and to no surprise it's accompanied by chicken nuggets and delayed Ryanair flights. Bastards. So 2024 begins with me wanting to retrace my steps from quite a while ago when I was only 19. When I had the young courage to explore the world for the first ever time, all on my own. Oh, how the times have changed. So off I went to the snow-topped peaks of the Tatra Mountains, in search of a lost memory. I arrive in the wonderful town of Zakopane, right at the bottom of Poland, almost 5 years on from when I was here last. But this time, a magical layer of snow blankets the landscape. It's even more beautiful than I remember. But there's one main reason why I've come back here. Though allured by the charm of the landscape and the sense of adventure, with each step I'm also quite emotional, reflecting on how life has changed since. It was only a few months after I was here last when disaster struck, and my life would be changed forever. I can't help but feel a sense of sadness and shock for the young teenager who would soon have his world flipped upside down again. As I venture on into the magical snow-swept Tatra Mountains, conflicting feelings of grief, awe and pride sweep me up in an emotional whirlwind. All the while, I have no choice but to keep going on forward. I can't believe how things have changed. Yet still, how they haven't at the same time. But I, for once, feel proud of choosing to live my life with bravery nevertheless, because it's the moments like these which seem to make everything just worth it. Despite how difficult the past few years have been, it felt somewhat therapeutic to reconnect with the past. But besides that, what an incredible way to begin the year, in a place as incredible as this, temperatures as low as -17 degrees, snow, mountains, and another delightful memory to look back on with pride. The same trip continued, with visiting one of the most notorious historical sites in the world, Auschwitz. A very heavy and emotionally taxing experience, but equally, a place of such significance that it can't be missed. This is my second time here too, but it felt easier to comprehend just how severe and appalling the conditions were, in the thick of winter, in the bitter cold. On a lighter note, I also got to see the wonderful city of Krakow again, which is also much prettier than I remember it. It was pleasant to retrace my steps and stumble upon memories from my first ever solo trip abroad. Though thankfully, there was also something a bit new on this trip as well. Down this endlessly spiralling staircase is one of the coolest places I've ever been, the Wieliczka Salt Mine, which consists of huge chambers and mining systems which have all been carved out of salt. It really is incredible that all of this is underground. And thankfully, my rebellious spirit meant I got a few precious moments with the whole place to myself in the main chapel. I feel sometimes it takes the passage of time and a bit of reflection to truly appreciate the sense of how magnificent and profound some of these experiences truly are.
Wow, wow, wow. Welcome to the city of Salzburg. It's my first time in Austria. Got the beautiful castle on the hill there, snowy mountains in the background. What more could you want? This is going to be a good one. As always, come along and explore it with me. Let's go.
From the birthplace of Mozart, fancy cemeteries, and to no surprise, beautiful churches too, Salzburg really was pleasant. And can you believe it as well? I torture myself as usual by racing up a hill to catch the rising morning sun, which disappointingly leads to views in the wrong direction. Arrgh. Though thankfully, by complete chance, or pure genius, on the way back down I stumble upon one of the most insane city views I think I've ever seen. This is the sort of spot I could just sit forever and get lost in the magic of the world. But unfortunately, everything you see on YouTube isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Time and money constraints mean I only have 5 days here in Austria, which means rushing about and sometimes not being able to enjoy things as much as I would like. This is one of the darker sides of content creation, which you probably won't hear so much. The stress of filming and my own obsessiveness to get things right can be pretty strong at times. Though thankfully, it's being able to capture special moments like this one coming up which make it all just worth it. Wow. Only one here. It's crazy, really. Sometimes I have to shake myself to remember what's out there. The life we often confine ourselves to is, well, shit, boring, and full of fear. It can be exhilarating to remind yourself of what's out there, just beyond the grasp of normality and conformity. To live a life truly worth living Sometimes, all it takes is one brave step into the unknown. Tomorrow, I'm going somewhere seriously special. But that means waking up at 4 AM. Unfortunately, that isn't the only problem. My phone runs out of storage last night, so I spent 2 hours editing and transferring footage onto my laptop so I can delete it off my phone so I can film. So after about 3 hours sleep, I woke up in an awful mood and genuinely considered not even going today. Thankfully, I did. I don't think I would have been able to live with that mistake. Welcome to Hallstatt, the world famous and picture perfect lakeside town. And can you believe it? I've pretty much got the whole place to myself. But you should know me by now, it's not an adventure without breaking a few rules. As incredible as the past few days have been, non-stop filming on very little sleep left me feeling very burnt out. But there's no time to rest. Moving on to Vienna the next day, I only had 1.5 days, which was nowhere near enough. So on I go reluctantly exploring, accidentally strolling into the art school Adolf Hitler got rejected from, but also around the city, seeing some of the most insane architectural beauty I've ever seen. After that, I need a break from travelling and filming. But life isn't going to slow down. The next day I get home and then I'm off to Scotland with some friends, where we climbed a mountain and of course there was some fantastic views. Then, the weekend after is a big weekend which I'm hosting in the North Pennines. And then, another weekend trip to the Lake District in May. 3 months pass by before I'm back on a plane again. And surprise, surprise, I'm back in Poland, where one of my favourite cities in Europe awaits me. From the endless amounts of silly little gnomes which have invaded the city, to one of the most iconic medieval looking streets I've ever seen. Wrocław really is special. And this time, can you believe it, I was even lucky enough to be blessed by the sun. And as usual, super early wake-ups mean I get to film when nobody's around, which is way less intimidating to film and means I get better shots too. But it also means I get to experience insanely beautiful places all to myself. This time round, I also made sure to see the special Wrocław lamplighter, where a centuries-old tradition has been kept, where a man gaslights lamps every single evening. And no, not gaslights in that way, that's my ex-girlfriend's job. I also found an absolute must-see spot which really added to the trip. Some of the artwork was just incredible, and the fact it was just hidden inside some dreary grey apartment block made it even more special. But not only that, I even found Nazi Gollum too. It's actually quite a nice reminder while I'm looking back through this footage and reflecting on the past year. Because in some ways, in the bleak and grey reality of most people's lives, it's easy to forget that all of this is out there. Now, I don't just mean here in particular, but adventure. Or maybe even just a better life. Sometimes, everybody just needs a little reminder that adventure, excitement and amazing memories are awaiting for those bold enough to go out and claim it. From Wrocław, it's time to head a couple of hours north to a new city, Poznan. It's another ridiculously early start where I have to drag myself out of bed, but take a look at this for a bedroom view. However, there's one slight problem: nasty bin men. After doing the usual bits of exploring the city, I think it's now time for something a little more exciting. A couple of kilometres from the centre is a place which piques my interest a little more than churches, castles and pretty buildings. After skirting around the outer perimeter for a while, I find a way inside. Tense and on edge, I meander my way through a barrier of overgrown vegetation. I find one of the old stands and follow the steps downwards onto the pitch of the old abandoned stadium. Here it lies, with its traces of humanity almost left behind in the past, and nature's indifference reclaims its possession. The place feels a bit eerie, and I'm a little cautious. Perhaps for being in a place I'm not meant to be, but because of the layer of rubbish laying on the floor too, I know I'm probably not alone. The former football ground could hold a staggering 60,000 people, but perhaps what was more shocking to me was that while under German occupation throughout the Second World War, this was used as a forced labour camp for Jews. Anyone who dared to escape would be hanged. Despite obviously having to break the rules, it's places like this which tell a fascinating yet twisting story, which I just can't help but be drawn to. The fact that goalposts still stand, even after 40 years of complete abandonment, is quite staggering. And I'm aware this doesn't quite fit the tone, but what a goal. Drone goal scoring aside, my Polish adventure continues, and this time with a new city once more. I arrived to the capital of Poland, for which I've actually heard mixed reviews, so I'm not quite sure what to expect. The next morning, filming begins at stupid o'clock once more, in the grey moody weather. While everything I'm showing you probably looks beautiful, and it does to me too, but a lot of the time, I just don't really seem to get anything from it. You see, if I'm to be completely honest with you, once you've seen a lot of cities, they all just sort of blur into one, you know? But I think what's more significant is the general stress of it all. I don't want to make everything all dark and miserable, but quite a bit of the time when I'm travelling, that's just how I feel. Travelling alone can be hard anyway, but I think more of it is trying to create something so that I can live a life on my own terms. Which a lot of people would see as a brave and amazing thing, which I suppose it is in some ways. But the stress and pressure can suck the life out of everything so much. Not to mention the thousands of pounds and thousands of hours which I've had to invest into it all too. And the inherent risk of it all. I could spend 100 hours and hundreds of pounds on a video, only for it to be invisible. I wish I could enjoy it more, I really do. But the amount of times I find myself questioning whether it's all really worth it.
Now get me in the bloody head. You're tall, aren't you?
Of course it's not all doom and gloom, and a lot of it is probably down to financial pressure, my own obsessiveness and general anxiety. But I thought, perhaps it might be reassuring, for some of you to hear at least, a more realistic reflection of what travel and life in general can be like at times. Or at least, to just hear something that's real. The internet can be full of so much shit, and really twist our perception of what's real and what's not. And while it can be scary to be open and honest like this, I find it so much better to live with authenticity and honesty than a fraudulent tone for the sake of forced positivity. Hopefully, I'll figure out my way with it all. Maybe in the future, when I have more money coming in, it'll be less stressful and more enjoyable again. Or perhaps I can find a way where I can learn to reduce my obsessiveness while still making good videos. Who knows? But I suppose we can't always have the answers. A lot of the times, we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and see where it leads us. Anyway, can we get the shit depressing music off, please? This isn't Schindler's List. Oh, are you taking the piss? This is hardly much better. Well, you're gonna have to bear with me, because this time we're visiting somewhere pretty mysterious. It's somewhere I've wanted to visit for quite some time. Hidden amongst the forests of Mazury in northeastern Poland lies the remains of a former secret headquarters of the Nazis, where Hitler actually spent most of his time during the war. It was absolutely fascinating, yet eerie. It can be quite hard to comprehend the magnitude of history which occurred here, but also being amongst the people who walked down these very paths. There's just something about World War II which just feels so out of reach. It seems such an unfamiliar world to the current day, but still, there's something so captivating at the fact such terror was only a couple of generations back. Wolf's Lair is definitely a place I'll have to return back to one day. There is plenty more that I'd like to explore. After having a couple of weeks away filming, I was pretty exhausted, but made sure I got back especially in time for England playing in the Euros. While home for a month or so in June, I also got up to some nice adventures in the Lake District. I was also an extra in a battle scene for a Bollywood series. How strange.
Watch the ball. And the next one. Next one.
I also spent a little time on lovely walks in the sun, going down to see Reggie the Swan and his little family. Then at the end of June, I had a lovely camping weekend with loads of friends. It's the little things which matter most, I think. Good friends, nature, nice scenery, being at peace, sunshine, all of that. I think I'm starting to just appreciate slowing down more now, and being at home, you know? Now don't get me wrong, all the exciting things, travel, adventure, new places, amazing experiences can all be great. Life-changing for some, in fact. But not for everyone. While there's a time and place for adventure, getting out of your comfort zone, travelling, or whatever it is, I do think we tend to forget about the other side of the coin. If you don't have things like good friendships, relationships, and meaningful connection in your life, or just struggle with general mental stability, chronic stress, or whatever it is, I don't think travel will ever fill that hole. I suppose that can be a hard thing to even realise or accept. Especially when travelling, being on the go, and always pushing is glorified. Perhaps to some of you, this might seem a bit of a dreary and depressing message. But I can imagine for quite a few of you, it will ring true. And well, at least you know that you're not alone. A month or so passes by, and it's time for something a little different. I'm now going to Zadar with some amazing friends, and seriously trying to resist filming, which proved very difficult. But there was one special adventure which I absolutely had to capture. Welcome to Plitvice Lakes National Park. Hvala.
Wow, wow, wow. Hello and welcome to, I don't know how to say it, Wieliczka, I'm not sure, but what I can say is it's absolutely stunning. But anyway, come along on an adventure as always and explore it with me. Let's go.
Wow, it's good to be back. And this time round, I have my new iPhone 15 Pro to film on. The zoom on the camera is absolutely insane. But I think this is just one of those places. Pure magic. It's without a doubt got to be one of the most special spots to visit in all of Europe. I think this too is where I find peace the most. Amongst the turquoise blue waters, the running streams, the animals, the mountains, the trees, the birds singing, and just being swallowed up in it all. And what's amazing is that usually no matter where you are, there is always an opportunity to find some solitude in nature. After an amazing week in Croatia, it's only 2 weeks that pass until my longest trip of the year begins. First is Verona, a city which I didn't research at all and had absolutely no expectations, which meant that upon arrival I was very pleasantly surprised. After a wonderful couple of days in Verona, it's time to explore some new territories. Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, is gorgeous. It was so green, the architecture was just beautiful, and I even saw some of the pet emu. Now it doesn't get much better than that. But it's one thing seeing it from the ground, and another to see it from the sky. Over the next couple of weeks, it was actually a really nice change to have some company for once. And it did make a big difference to my trip.
It sends more blood to your legs.
With another very early start, and we find ourselves on the shores of the world-famous Lake Bled. And again, this is why you get up early in the morning. What an incredible place, and this is a nice little reminder to try and have some fun when you're away. Next is the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo, full of history and tainted by its dark past. It's a city that certainly doesn't lack character, and there's one place I'm quite excited to go. Up on the mountain, if you take a cable car up, is the abandoned bobsleigh track of the Winter Olympics in 1984. It was yet another really cool little place I explored this year, with some fascinating yet dark history.
And for those of you who didn't already think I was an idiot, just dropped my phone. I was walking along there, fell off. It's like a 6-metre drop, fell on the pavement. Oh, had a heart attack. But somehow it's alright. That's why you get a screen protector and a rubber case.
What a silly sausage. And finally, surprisingly, my last YouTube adventure of the year is in the wonderful city of Mostar. What an incredible place to finish an incredible year. Oh, well, honestly, what a past year it has been. And just even while I've been editing this video and looking back through it, you know, I'm sort of like, what? I've done all of that this year, you know, it's quite hard to comprehend and even kind of make sense that all of it happened. Sometimes it's all a bit of a big blur, do you know what I mean? I hope this video wasn't too long, but I thought, you know, I've been working on it over the past couple of weeks, which is why it's been a bit late. I did want to release it for New Year's midnight sort of thing, but it's took me a bit longer than anticipated, and having to get old files from storage is always a bit of a fuss and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Because I've tried to incorporate a few different themes throughout this video, and travel can be amazing. As you can see, there's some incredible places, but of course it's a very fine-tuned, I've put beautiful music behind it. You don't typically see all the times I had to wake up at 4 a.m. on 3 hours sleep to go out and film when there's nobody around, and the stress of it all and trying to manage it all, and then trying to package it into something that ultimately sells and is watchable, which can come with a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. But at the same time, you know, I've done some incredible things this year alone, which is really nice to look back on. And even with the videos themselves, it can be quite hard to maintain any sense of value or appreciation when you're watching them back, because when I'm editing stuff, I'm looking back through it 30, 40, 50 times, and it can really sort of distort your perception of it, I think. And so hopefully with this video as well, it'll be nice in the future to come back and rewatch it, you know, but in an inspiring sense, you know. As I touched upon, travel isn't always rosy, and it's something I find quite difficult, ironically, being a sort of travel creator, but maybe in some ways that's more authentic and actually connects with you a bit more deeply, because the real world isn't everything you see online. And maybe it's even a bit more inspiring that even if you struggle, even if it makes you anxious, even if it makes you scared, you can still make it happen. There's a whole other world out there, and I think that's something which obviously I try to touch upon, that it's even easy for me to forget the magic of it sometimes, you know. And obviously when you're not filming and stuff, I think that is your break, that's your escape, that's your, you know, you can really immerse yourself in that magic, and that's something which I need to probably learn from a little bit as well. So yeah, what a crazy busy year it's been, and I hit 10k just about a month ago, so obviously that's a huge thank you to all of you, and a nice little milestone for me to achieve for all the thousands of hours of hard work that I've put in. And also, I don't know how many of you know, but I set up my own little business a couple of months ago with my mate, where we've been making some really cool phone case designs. This one is on my older phone. That one's like a Rio de Janeiro on the hill. Really cool. But I've got loads more. We've also made like a Northeast collection, so if you're from the UK and you want to have a little look, envisionprint.co.uk, I love that one of the quayside. Tyne Bridge there. We've got loads of designs. We've got like some AI designs as well. Lovely lion. Right. Tea's ready. Nice little Highland cow there. So if you want to have a little check out of them, it's envisionprint.co.uk. We've got some really cool little phone cases. So a nice little enterprise. So if you, like I say, if you want to check that out, that'd be really cool. And also, I just wanted to drop a mention that this year I started off my memberships. Now, obviously these sorts of videos are quite well polished, you know, they're quite proper. Maybe less so this one, but the other ones, you know, and you don't really get to connect with me, and I don't really get to connect with you properly. So you can join my membership for £5 a month. That helps massively support me as a creator, because like I said, there's a lot of stress, a lot of money goes into it, and I don't get a great deal back. Not at the minute anyway. So if you want to join that, and you can gain access to some exclusive videos, early access to videos, and some other perks like personal updates and priority reply to comments, things like that. Maybe that's of value to you, and also, like I said, it's a nice way to support my work and what I do. So I'll leave it at that. Check that out if you want. I'll leave a link in the description below for that. Thank you so much for an incredible year and for joining me on all these amazing adventures. And I suppose we'll see where this year, 2025, takes me and us. I needed a bit of a break, I think, definitely, from all the YouTube stuff. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure it's going to be another busy year, and I wish you all the best and have some amazing travels. And yeah, Adios. Take care.